Criminality, ill discipline and litigation has forced the adjournment of the ANC North West Conference. This is at least for 2 weeks. The only activity expected to be concluded tonight is the voting. This is for the top 5 officials in the province. Newzroom Afrika's Pelane Phakgadi live for us from the Rustenburg Civic Centre. Pelane, it's taken a lot of effort to get the conference to this point where they're able to vote at least for the party's top 5 officials. How have they dealt with the question of irregularities and who are the legitimate representatives of the branches and whose votes should count?
Well, that's a very critical question that you're asking there, Kathy, because that is what the African National Congress NEC has been really much delving in for the last 72 hours or so, in particular relations to the conference. The registration process was very much tedious. As a matter of fact, the registration process only concluded sometime this afternoon today. And it's just so giving you the indication that there are some scattered branches that they were only able to be registered this afternoon, and they were able to do so that voting that you were talking about actually is what you are seeing behind you. Although there's seemingly a little bit of some disgruntlement with some noise that we are hearing from the delegates here, but this is the queue to the voting stations where they're going to be voting for the top 5 leaders of the ANC here in the Northwest. So seemingly a little bit of commotion there with what we are finding at this moment. And it has been the case for the rest of the week because the delegates were just not simply finding themselves on a matter of issues. As a matter of fact, the states coming into this conference were showing so much disunity within the African National Congress in the province that there were 7 candidates just for the chairpersonship of the province at this current stage. And earlier on, when there was that talk from the NEC deployees here, that included Nomvula Mkonyane as the national head of organizing. She was talking about the stolen tags. And of course, those particular stolen tags seemingly represented some delegates being present within this very same plenary that we are in here. Let's just take a listen to what Nomvula Mkonyane had to say a little earlier on.
As we were at the registration and accreditation center, there was this issue about tags. In fact, there are 2 instances that have happened. One is that there were individuals who invaded the registration center and grabbed our administrators, took away the tags and fled with the tags. We know those tags. We know those tags because those were the tags that were supposed to be distributed now that there's been a readjustment of the delegates, as I've earlier said. A criminal case has been opened against those individuals. Fortunately, there's also footage, and we hope that as the organization we will be able to exercise discipline over and above laying criminal charges against those individuals.
And there's just a lot of things that were happening here, including what Obed Bapela, as the deployee of the National Executive Committee here in the Northwest, had to say. He was just talking about the fact that the program had just taken too long. I mean, they even had to halt quite a number of activities, including breaking into commissions, so that they can be able to deal with the issues around the credentials, and as well as talk on the issues about who the rightful delegates are. So, for now, for the next 2 weeks, there will be those deliberations, and while the ANC here in the province seeks to try and reorganize itself. So let's take a listen at what Obed Bapela had to say.
We are at the stage of the conference time where voting will be starting soon, and what the plenary is discussing is just an item to say, do we start now or we can postpone the vote, but the majority view that is emerging that we need to start the vote of the top 5 today and adjourn the conference where the additional members, the nominations and the additional members will then be concluded at an adjourned date, so that then the results of the top 5 will be known, so that those who are in the top 5, if you want to participate in the additions, they can also participate in the additional spaces that are available for the makeup of the Provincial Executive Committee. Similar to what had happened in Gauteng at the time, when the conference was adjourned for 2 weeks, and we'll also have to adjourn it for 2 weeks. It has to happen by the 25th, 26th and 27th of August, because the NEC in July took a decision that the Northwest, Free State and Western Cape, otherwise the NEC will then review progress, must be concluded by the end of August. And the Northwest has started, and it has to conclude by the end of August in fulfillment of that decision of the National Executive Committee.
Pelane, just before I let you go, how confident, are these NEC members of the fact that voting for the top 5 will take place seamlessly and that it's something that can be concluded tonight, especially given the fact that you've just shown us some of the visuals of delegates who are moaning and clearly disgruntled by what is happening right now?
Well, earlier on, we had, of course, a one-on-one with him as well, and he was just telling us that as far as they are concerned, the plenary has agreed that the voting of the top 5 should happen tonight, and therefore, as the NEC will then be giving them the support, necessary support, and of course, the electoral committee will then come in handy. And one of the other critical questions that were coming on board was that whether or not the issue around the ballot was one which was agreed upon in plenary, and I think that was also sorted out. So the only thing now that remains is for the Bujana region here with me behind us to begin with their voting process, and a tedious process, as Obed was saying, but it could conclude sometime around the early hours of the morning and then wait for the results if that is the case. And that might be something, of course, where he was just talking about the fact that some members might just want to leave after voting for them, voting for their preferred top 5 names, and might listen to the outcomes on a later stage. So it could be a process that will lead up for the rest of the night. Quite confident Obed Bapela was that the process will continue because plenary has agreed that it concludes.
All right, Pelane, Phakgadi, sounds like you're in for the long haul tonight, so we'll leave it there with you for now. You can expect more updates from Pelane throughout the rest of the evening.